Welcome back. Now, some members of the House of Representatives on Wednesday proposed a bill to amend the 1999 Constitution of Nigeria and return the country to a parliamentary system as a replacement for the current presidential system practiced in the country. While giving a synopsis of the bill, the group, through its spokesperson Abdul Samad Dasuki, expressed frustration with the expensive presidential system and the overbearing powers of the president. The lawmakers also cited the need to reduce government costs as well as robust policy debates as reasons for demanding a return to the parliamentary system. According to the lawmakers, the imperfections of the presidential system of government have become glaring to all, despite several alterations to the Constitution to address the shortcomings of a system that has denied the nation the opportunity to attain its full potential. The 60 lawmakers set a timeline of 2031 for the constitutional amendment to allow for the transition now. One of the most significant differences between these two systems is that in a presidential system, the president is directly elected by the people, whereas in a parliamentary system, the legislature is supreme and elects a prime minister from among its members as the head of government. Now, recall that Nigeria operated under the parliamentary system before independence and even in the First Republic. However, the coup of 15 January 1966 truncated that republic. Joining me now to discuss this further is one of the lawmakers who, of course, one of the lawmakers now pushing for this bill now, Honorable Kale-Jaye Adeboye Paul. He joins us from Abuja, and by the way, he represents, he's from the APC in Lagos State. Honorable, thank you very much for joining us on the program. Very quickly now, besides some of these points now that I highlighted in my intro there, why exactly are you people pushing for the introduction or the reintroduction now of the parliamentary system in the country?
Okay, let me first and foremost correct the impression that I'm one of those pushing for that position. I am not one of them.
Okay.
I'm not saying I cannot be one of them. I may not be one of them. I do not have the mandate of the National Assembly, the House of Representatives, to speak on this topic. Those who are pushing for this agenda, like you have said, are 60 lawmakers. We are 360 lawmakers.
Exactly.
And then you will not know the position of 300 people who are also lawmakers. So as of today, the House has not taken any decision. And those who are pushing are they also have the right as members of the parliament and as people who are also Nigerians to advocate for what they believe in.
But you, for you as an individual now, what do you make of this? What's your position on it?
I'm not prepared to make any significant comment on the issue now because I have not really studied and digested their position. I've also not carefully studied what are the deficiencies in the presidential elections and what cost it will save. Because for me as a person, whether you use parliamentary or use presidential, the cost of governance may not necessarily reduce because I have gone through delegate elections.
That's true.
And I've gone through direct primary elections. And I also know that when you go through direct primary elections, you have the whole crowd to contend with.
That's true.
And then you may end up spending less money compared to having to go through delegate elections, especially when the delegates believe they are all in all and they control the life of power and death. They will make unnecessary demands. And then when you culminate their demands into, if you will have gone into direct primaries, you may find out that it may even be more costly. So even when you ask the parliament to choose the prime minister, are there not going to be undercurrents? These are issues. But like I have said, I'm not ready to join the debate now. I have not taken the necessary study. But whatever it is, like I've said, those who are pushing have a right to push. They are lobbying. They also have a right to lobby other members of the parliament. But the procedures are very clear. If you have any position to move, you come to the floor of the House, you move your position. If the House supports what you are doing, procedures are there. And then even if we pass the bill, it will go through the first reading, It will go through the second reading. It will go through defense. It will pass through the Federal House of Representatives and subsequently move to the Senate for concurrence or their own further legislative action. So it's not cast in iron. It's not cast in iron. And the Nigerians has opened the minds of Nigerians for a robust debate.
And of course, the 36 state houses of assembly would have to weigh in at some point on this issue. But let me ask you, from your own personal view now, your own assessment of the presidential system, would you say it has failed the country? Would you say the country has experimented enough with this system to now come to the conclusion that it's not working for us?
Have we forgotten so easily that we started with parliamentary democracy and it collapsed? Why did it collapse? Why did it collapse? So, because we've not been able to practice parliamentary democracy sufficiently enough before it collapsed, and then we have now had an experience of presidential elections for quite a long time, so we do not have sufficient data, sufficient statistics, sufficient empirical findings to be able to justify whether A is better than B. But whichever one it takes, the people of Nigeria will have a right to debate the matter. They will have a right to say what they want. Is the people. It's not even the parliament alone. Because before such a bill is passed, like you have said, you have to call stakeholders meeting. There will be stakeholders at various levels. The House of Reps will call stakeholders, the Senate will call stakeholders, and people will have to have their input. It's not something that will happen in just a day. And those who are proposing this, the proponents of this agenda, have also said they have a long date for its gestation time for it to even be effective. It means that we'll have enough time, long time, to debate and decide. I give you an hypothetical example. When IBB said whether we were going to take IMF loan or not, and everybody kept shouting, we don't want IMF loan. They did not tell us that if we don't take IMF loan, I will go for structural adjustment program. This will be the consequences. And for the first time, when we embraced the structural adjustment program, in just one day, they devalued our naira by 400%. If Nigerian has had the privilege of knowing the consequences of not taking IMF loan,
that's true,
and taking it, maybe we will have voted for IMF loan. What is wrong in a loan? As long as the loan is judiciously used. Since that time, we've been plunged into economic woes, economic quagmire. We are not yet out of it. We're still in the doldrum. We're still in comatose. We're still struggling to get out of it. So I am not either a proponent or an antagonist, or whether a presidential system is better or a parliamentary system is better. What is important is the consciences of those who rule the nation. It's not about the system. The system just gives you a guide. The operators decide to manipulate the system the way they like. So whether you call it parliamentary, you call it presidential, it depends on the operator. So for me, I think we should be looking at the operators rather than even the system. The system may not save us, but the people who operate the system will be in a position to save our country.
Honorable Kalejaya Adeboye Paul, thank you very much for your time and thank you for talking to us.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. All right, we'll take a short break, but when we come back, we'll continue the conversation on this very topic. Stay with us, don't go away. Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal. How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
President must see himself as the president of the Federal Republic.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On DEJI360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts, and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians say in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
DEJI360, dissecting the issues. Welcome back. Now let's continue the conversation on the issue of parliamentary system being pushed now by some members of the House of Representatives. Joining me to discuss this issue now is Yaya Tanko Baba, who is a professor of political institutions and comparative politics at Usman Danfodio University, Sokoto. He joins us from Kebbi. Thank you very much, Prof, for joining us on the program. Very quickly now, do you think this is something we should be discussing at this time? I mean, something that lawmakers should be pushing at this time, a move to a parliamentary system of government?
Yeah, I think it's worth discussing because actually emerged into huge crisis of governance. Of course, you can see the members that are actually championing this cause are lamenting over the issue of cost of governance. The presidential system of government has become a huge burden on the country, on the citizen, on the state itself. Large amount of resources have been, devoted to maintaining this very expensive, democratic system of government, and it's also accumulating powers, huge and enormous powers in the hands of a single institution, if you like, the presidency, and of course the executive branch of government, and that has made the democratic governance a bit more, not only more expensive, but more turbulent, if you like. That's why electoral competition over time, since Nigeria's return to democratic rule in 1999, has always been very tense, very stiff, very fierce, very confrontational, because the zero-sum game nature of the politics, the presidential system of government means that a presidency takes it all, which is the winner. It can actually also subdue other branches of government. We are very familiar with how the crisis, the executive legislature conflict over the years, since 1999, has cost this very particular country and the state, huge, resources, diverting the attention of elected officials from governance issues to issues that has to do with personality, and so on and so forth. So I think it's worth discussing it. The parliamentary system of government had once been practiced in this country in the First Republic, and the argument has always been that it's a less expensive system of government, and it also creates room for dialogue. It creates opportunity for consultation, for alliances, for coalitions, and it also provides opportunities for political parties to develop themselves and develop their capacities, and also build themselves around ideologies, and also factor in their policy preferences.
Sorry to interject, Prof. But beyond the issue of cost, now associated with the presidential system, some of the issues you've just highlighted now in terms of political parties developing themselves, in terms of consultation and all of that. I mean, we see that in the presidential system as well.
It's very less because in presidential system of government, no party requires the cooperation or the support of any other party to form government. The president, once the elections are won, the president has the unilateral responsibility to form cabinet. This is not so with parliamentary system of government. Hardly with one political party have the majority of the seats required to form government. And therefore, he needed the party that win most seats in the parliament will require the support and the cooperation of other smaller parties in coalition to form the required majority of number of seats to form government. And to do that, you must negotiate. You must go into dialogue. You must give. You must take. And this creates a room for dialogue, for consultation, for even a synergy among different, divides, different political divides, different cultural divides, different ethnic and geographical divides. In the sense that now a government of unity is formed, whereas other parties who refuse to join the coalition will remain and the official opposition party platform within the parliament. And remember also, there is this fusion of executive and legislative functions, and that members of parliament are also members of cabinet, and that policy issues are discussed at both the cabinet and the parliament at the parliamentary level. It's a government that experts suggest create opportunities for the elite to come closer to themselves. In direct talks, at every moment, a major policy decision is to be taken that has direct and decisive impact or likely to have impact on the public or on the state. There must be discussion within and among the elite, both at the cabinet level and also at the parliament level. So it's a system that is likely to push the elite more towards consensus than division. And this is and it also is a system that actually reduces the concentration of power at the center.
So, sorry, Prof, is that not a function of the way we think? That, when you look at the presidential system, that it should actually not be so. It should not just be about the center. I mean, in a system where you have governors, you have local government chairmen, is it about the system itself, or is just in the way we think and the way we allow, or the way we operate the system itself? That intrinsically there's nothing wrong with the system, but there's something wrong with the way those who are running it run it. For instance, why are we wired to always think of the center when we have state governors and local government chairmen?
I think it's both. The way we run the government is one dimension to understanding the crisis of governance itself, and the structure of the system itself is another dimension to understanding it. Now, when you say there are states, of course, states are also subnationals. But for the local government are also part of the subnational government. But there is an extension of this presidential system even at the state government. It's even worse at state levels. While you have a near robust legislative arm of government or legislative institution that has developed its capacity and autonomy, asserted its autonomy over time, at the level of the center, what you have at the state, you have largely robust state assemblies. And this is even worse, and that explains why, questions of accountability, transparency, probity at the level of the subnational government in Nigeria is actually, is something disturbing, something quite astonishing, because the way we run the government, just like you said, sometimes create doubts as to whether or not democracy that has been advocated as the best framework of governance that is closer to facilitating development that best fits societies such as ours, Nigeria and in Africa. I think the national debate about now a switch or a transition to parliamentary system of government is the way in which this very particular presidential system of government is run. And not only that, the way the design of the system itself creates, that very particular, those avenues through which individuals now take advantage of the existing provisions of this very particular system of government to actually undermine it and make sure that the system's efficiency is actually affected by the choices of the personalities.
And that takes me, sorry, Prof, that takes me, yes, Prof, that takes me to the next question now. And that question is, it's still the same politicians who are going to run this system. So can the system on its own change things? Or because at the end of the day, it's not as if we're going to bring a new set of politicians or new set of human beings now to run the system. It's still the same people who will run the system. So is the problem the system or the people? That is a fundamental question. And then, because we're running out of time, let me ask you a second question too in addition to that. When you have a parliamentary system now, what happens to the states as we have them today? Are we saying we're going to, the states will cease to exist and then probably turn into something else? Just try to explain so that we can understand. Are we going to have state governors in place? I
don't know what the thought of those championing the cause for a switch to parliamentary system of government is. But what just quickly comes into one's mind, that if there is this proposal, the framers of this move or this idea will have to also concede alongside the subnationals. Perhaps, in my mind, what is coming into my mind is that there will be a complete dissolution of states and evolution of another subnational structure, either in form of regions or through political zones. And just like we had in the First Republic, where regional governments coexisted with the central government, maybe something like geopolitical regions, like the South-South, the Southwest, the Southeast, the North-Central, the Northwest, the Northeast, could actually exist, as subnational, that would also be given the opportunity to operate typically a parliamentary system of both executive and parliament, just like we have the regional assemblies in the West, in the East, in the North, and in the Midwest much later. Now, if these particular substructures of government or subnationals of government are spread across the 6 geopolitical zones, now there is subnational autonomy, so to say, and that governance will now not be concentrated at the center, but it will be concentrated at the subnational level. And we have powers now devolved, completely devolved into, or largely devolved to the subnationals at geopolitical zones or at regional levels, and then the local authorities, which may be configured in forms of provinces, can also be created to reflect the spread of the different expressions of identities that actually exist even within the geopolitical zones. But to the last question, you said the same set of people. Yes, the same set of people that are running the presidential system of government that has exposed this country or this political system into crisis will be the same set of people that will also be involved in the management of parliamentary system. Oh yes, but there are certain institutional restraints. For instance, nobody will have to emerge to be involved in presidential campaign all around the country, seeking for the votes of all Nigerians to become president, and then therefore pulling huge amount of resources to spend, to ensure that his candidature and his party wins election. Here we have completely less tense electoral competition, where competition for parliamentary seats determines who become the head of government.
All right, Prof. Thank you very much for coming on the program, and thank you for sharing your insights with us. Unfortunately, we haven't got time. I believe this is an ongoing conversation. We're still going to talk more about this in the coming, weeks and months, because the lawmakers are saying that they hope that that switch will happen sometime in 2031. But all the same, thank you very much, Professor, for coming on the program, and thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Well, that's Professor Tanko Baba, who is a professor of political institutions and comparative politics at Usman Danfodio University, Sokoto. He joined us from Kebbi State. We'll take a short break and we'll be right back. Stay with us. Don't go away.
Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
President must see himself as the president of the Federal Republic.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On DEJI360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts, and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians say in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
DEJI360, dissecting the issues.